Понял, под моим управлением. Наблюдаю у вас 292 на 94.
Hello guys, once again it's Matt, and today we have a very special video on the Mirage F1C, the first and long-awaited Mirage F1 series, aircraft series added to War Thunder. And yeah, basically we're going to talk about its history a little bit. We're going to talk about its performance in game, pros and cons, and then the strategies that I use in game. But in general, first of all, let's talk a little bit about its history. Of course, it is a development of the Mirage series of aircraft. Of course, it has the same type of thinking behind the Mirage 3, for example, but it has some major changes. First of them, and the most important of them, is the actual layout of the wings. It uses a swept wing design instead of the delta wing, and it is very much a very fast aircraft. It was introduced into production and to service in 1973, together with the 530F in 1979, the Super 530F, which is the best missile of this aircraft, you know. But yeah, it uses the same engine as the Mirage 3, but just a more modernized version, the ATAR, the SNEC MatAWG 9K50 turbojet engine with almost 70 kilonewtons of force. It has the Cyrano 4 radar, which is a development of the Cyrano 2, which was used in the Mirage 3, and it was limited with the look down, shoot down capability, so has this problem, but it is a very interesting radar, and it's kind of weak, especially in game. It's kind of weak, to be honest, and only has MTI mode and the search mode, and it has some problem that I'm going to talk a little bit about it later. It was used by a lot of air forces, Congo, Gabon, Iran, Libya, and Morocco still use them, and yeah, Ecuador, France, Greece, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, the Libyan Arab Air Force, Qatar, South Africa, and Spain also used not only, of course, this version, but one of the versions of the Mirage F1. But yeah, it is a very controversial aircraft in general in War Thunder, and it is a very long-awaited aircraft, and like all long-awaited aircraft, they normally are a little bit, underwhelming when they are added. So yeah, we have to be careful with our expectations, because a lot of people were expecting like a super fighter that is fast and nimble and has these incredible missiles and stuff. But of course, it's not that. It is a very early 70s aircraft, still have very early radars and sensors, and in general, very early stuff. It is comparable by the time to an F4E kind of, and to the MiG-23M. So of course, it's not the most amazing thing ever, but still a very good aircraft. As I said on the thumbnail, it's not great, but it's not terrible. It's just very team dependent, so we're going to talk a little bit of its performance in the game. It has some, for the performance itself, for the flight performance, we are going to have a lot of changes to the flight model. That's why I waited 1 week to actually make the video about this aircraft. I saw a lot of YouTubers actually doing videos like in the first day and complaining about the 30% win rate and that the aircraft was really bad and stuff. Of course it's really bad. It's the first day of the patch. A lot of things change, and it is just it's just the first day of the patch. And yeah, the 30% win rate that I actually got in the first day that I was actually playing with this aircraft, it was basically due to the fact that my team was generally just getting destroyed, and I was being alone against 3 or 4 MiG-23s or 3 or 4 FRJs or vegans and stuff. So of course this is not a very clutchable aircraft. because it is just a light aircraft. It is comparable to early versions of the MiG-23 and stuff, so it is not the most amazing thing ever, okay? Just keep that in mind. It can do super cruise, very good super cruise at Mach 1.04, for example, or something like that. And the cannons, of course, it has the 2 DEFAs, are problematic. So, especially at first, it is very hard to fly this aircraft. But once you get the new boosters and stuff like that, you can get a lot of kills and a lot of easy kills. The 530, the Super 530, it is one of the best, if not the best, short range kind of semi-active missile. It is really amazing. Trust me, it is one of the best missile, if not the best, in turning capabilities. The problem that it has is that I think I might be wrong in this. If I'm wrong, just tell me in the comments. But it is very limited because, first of all, the radar is still just MTI or normal search mode, and the missile itself, I think it doesn't have a CW, or it is just a CW or something. So it is continuous wave or something. I don't know exactly what it is. That is the problem. But it just makes the Chef super very effective against the 530F. So it is a problematic missile to use. Doesn't mean that the missile itself is bad. It's just that the Chef works amazingly against this missile, just like it works amazingly against the normal 530, which is kind of sad. It's kind of sad, but still, you can get a lot of quick and easy kills with it, the 530F, and I still advise to use it. The Magics, of course, a lot of people complain about it, but we don't need the Magic 2 right now, and of course the Magic 1, for me, probably just loses for the R60M and the AIM-9L because they are all aspect, of course, but it is, I think, the third best missile in the game. It's way better than the AIM-9, and it has some flare sensitivity. You know, it can like ignore some types of flares and stuff. So it is not, it's not amazing, but it is a very good missile in general. And yeah. So yeah, this is for the performance of the aircraft. It is very limited in acceleration, especially. The acceleration of the aircraft, it is very limited, but as I said, a lot of changes are being made to the flight model, so keep your hopes up. For example, there were findings that in the data mines that the aircraft is losing like 200 kilos or even more than that on the empty weight, which means that the aircraft will be lighter and will accelerate a little bit. So every day that it passes, a new thing is found in the files, and Gaijin is actually changing a lot of stuff. So just keep that in mind when you are playing it. As I said, the first day that you fly the aircraft, it is very hard, but generally it's a very, I mean, you can get 2.0 KDs with this aircraft pretty easily. I have one right now. I have like 100 and something kills and like 50 or 60 deaths. So it is not the most amazing aircraft in the game. It's not even closely related to a top tier, a really good top tier. It's probably not even going to be very good. I mean, look at this, completely missed that. But it is not going to be comparable to a MLD, for example. You know, of course it's not going to be. But still a very good fighter. It's probably going to have a lower BR than he has right now. Probably going to be lowered to 11.0 or even 10.7. And then when that happens, it's going to be even more amazing to fly it. It's a very beautiful aircraft, very fast. Of course, while we are talking about the performance, we're going to talk about its pros and cons. So first of all, the pros, of course, it is the speed. The energy retention of this aircraft is pretty amazing. Not that it has a lot of max speed, but it can retain energy pretty well. But with the slats and stuff, it can also lose a lot of energy while turning as well. So you have to be careful. But more pros, of course, the missiles, the Magics are amazing. Don't trust people that say that the Magics are not good. They are really good. They have a very good flare sensitivity, as I said before. The 530, it is an amazing missile. It's a late 70s missile, so it is very good. Just has this problem with chaff, which means that if the aircraft has chaff and knows that you're firing at him, you will probably miss. So just have that in mind. I don't know if they are going to change that, so just keep that in mind. And yeah, basically this is it for the weapons. Of course, another thing that it has a very good, of course, the radar, even though it's very limited, it is good enough to actually use it. The MTI can be used at on all altitudes, not like the 23, the MiG-23. So it is, I would say, it's far from being like a EJ Kai or even the MLD or the F4J. But it's still a very good radar, very small, and yeah, the detection range is not the greatest, but you actually don't need it that much. So this would be the main features of this aircraft. A lot of ammo, a lot of flares and chaff. This can help you a lot. You're going to see that it is just a very good aircraft in that, and the roll rate is pretty amazing as well. So you can change directions very quickly and makes it very easy to actually make the guy just lose you. So yeah, and for the cons, of course, we have the slow speed in acceleration. So it is very hard to accelerate sometimes, especially at low altitudes. So you have to be careful with that. Still, the flight model is being changed, so you're going to have problems maybe with yaw dampering sometimes. So yeah, aiming, it's a little bit harder sometimes than it would be in a normal aircraft. But these things are being fixed and stuff, so yeah, everything is subject to change still. So yeah, and of course, one of the main cons, as I said before, is the Super 530, even being one of the best missiles in the game, radar guided. It is very limited because of the chaff, so keep that in mind. And yeah, basically these are the main cons. But in flight performance itself, I would say that the main con is the ability to lose energy while turning is still a problem. I would say that it's a problem even with like the Mystère. From that on, it's problematic. So the Mystère, the Super Mystère, they all have the same problem. They lose a lot of energy turning, but they turn a lot. So yeah, and another con on the Super 530, it's the range. So the range is very limited. It's like 12 kilometers basically, but and the MTI is very weak. So against the ground clutter, sometimes even with the MTI, you will not have a very good launch parameter to launch the 530. So be careful with that as well. Okay, the strategies that I use is normally to fly at middle altitudes. I don't climb a lot with this because you're not gonna be wanting to face F4Js with AIM-7Fs and MLAs and MLDs against the Air-24. You just don't want to, you know. They outrange you even with the radar. They have a very powerful radar and you don't have a very powerful radar. Remember, this is a very light aircraft and the radar is not a very powerful one, so we will not detect them even, or you will, but the missile will not have the range to actually hit the target. So just be careful with that. But fly to mid altitudes, like maximum of 3 to 4,000 meters, and try to maintain the speed. Don't try to turn a lot, but if you have to, you can use the roll rate to actually change the direction that you're flying very rapidly, and that makes the enemy actually overshoots you. So that's probably one of the best strategies that you can use in a dogfight. You will not outturn basically almost every aircraft. Doesn't mean that the aircraft is bad at turning, it just means that you have to be careful. It can pull some very good Gs, but it loses a lot of energy with the slats, so just have to be careful with that. And yeah, as I said, the strategy that I'm showing here is just making him overshoot using the roll rate. So yeah, But the thing that I wanted to talk the most about, even the strategy, of course, get people by surprise. It always helps. You know, people that are not paying attention very much to the game, targets of opportunity. I really don't like calling this aircraft a support aircraft, but it can be a support aircraft. So if you have a squad or something like that, you are very, very team dependent. So be careful with that. You are not going to be able to clutch most of the battles if you are against 3, 4, 5 enemies. Something that you can actually do with an F4 or the MiG-23, the vegan aircraft like that. So, but it doesn't mean that the aircraft is bad. It just means that it is not, maybe it is not top tier material. Maybe it is not supposed to be 11.3. But it doesn't mean that the aircraft is bad, you know. As I said, I got kind of pissed that a lot of people were complaining about this aircraft, and it was just day one. And you know, I mean, come on, guys. I mean, the aircraft is still in kind of development. You know how gaijin works. They take a while sometimes to fix things because they have people to test it out, and they have to test it out with the players. So yeah, as I showed on this clip, 2 530 kills, and it is not. I mean, it's like if you have 10 battles, 3 of them you're going to miss both of the 530Fs. Like 3 of them you're going to, 4 of them you're going to hit just one, and maybe 3 of them you're going to hit both. It is not a very hard missile to use. You just have this problem with the flares, and as I said before, the aircraft, it is pretty good. I mean, I have a lot of fun with it. It's just that the most amount of, I mean, angry feelings that I feel with this aircraft is actually because of the teams. Because you know, in top tier in War Thunder, you have this problem that a lot of people just die really quickly, or they kill a lot of people really quickly. So it ended up being a very fast match in top tier always. So yeah, this can be a problem and a very boring thing sometimes. You know, not always, but it is sometimes. And yeah, in general, I mean, not, yeah, more always than sometimes, but still. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I mean, I still think it's one of the most amazing aircraft that were added in the patch. The most fun, one of the most fun that you can have. Even though they are hard to fly sometimes, the Mirage, it is a very capable aircraft and a very fun aircraft to fly. So I see you guys on the next one, and subscribe. So yeah, bye guys, hope you enjoyed. And tomorrow we will see a video on the Mirage F1 with the simulator battles. Okay, so bye guys, subscribe.